in this county, your rights is not going to be infringed. Not while I'm sheriff.
Right. There's been some debate on when you are elected and you are sworn in where your, I would say, allegiance or your service lies. Some would argue that you swear to protect the state, the Constitution of the state, while others say that in the end you swear to protect the people. And would you say your allegiance is more with the people or more with the state?
No, it's definitely with the people. The people is what elected me into office.
Would you explain what the role of the sheriff is?
Basically serving the people to get rights, wrongs that have been perpetrated against some, to have them righted.
What is more important to look at when it comes to electing an official? Is it their party affiliation or the content of their character?
No, it's obviously the content of their character. You've got to look at the people.
All right, well, I know a major issue right now, especially with our state government, is government overreach. And like in 2020, we saw a bunch of the government coming in, like shutting down your businesses or having the state police come down and enforce a bunch of unconstitutional mandates. What steps would you take to prevent something like that from happening again?
I'll order them out of the county. That's the bottom line. I have, my opinion is you have rights, right? We all have rights. And I'm not going to force you to wear a mask, and I'm not going to force you to take any vaccine. I think that's definitely overreach by the government.
Okay, let me just say this. We're not going to enforce any mask mandate in the courtroom or anywhere else.
You gonna arrest someone for not wearing a mask?
She's going to jail, buddy. She's going to jail, buddy.
For not wearing a mask?
For not wearing a mask.
You said you would not be enforcing mask mandates, yet you arrested Tina Estrada for wearing a mask in court. How do you explain that?
2 points. I didn't know. She was not arrested by a deputy sheriff. And it was not because of a mask.
You need to stand up. You are under arrest, and I don't want to use force. Please. Come on. Thank you.
Are you going to put your mask back on your face?
2 points. I didn't know. She was not arrested by a deputy sheriff. And it was not because of a mask.
Okay. So how will voters know when to believe you, when to believe what you say going forward?
Well, I haven't changed.
You stated to Mr. Freeman that you were arresting her for not wearing a mask.
Correct.
So you had told Freeman.
That comment was made to Freeman. She was not. That is an incorrect statement. I was doing it just because Freeman was bugging me and pushing and telling me, "You arrested her for a mask arrest?" Yeah, I did. It was just being kind of facetious.
Okay.
That is not what she was arrested for.
Okay. So she was arrested for, what was she arrested for then?
She was arrested for contempt of court.
Okay. And?
By the judge.
By the judge, okay.
No deputies arrested her. The judge arrested her. The judge asked us to transport her.
Sheriff David Frazee contends that the sheriff's department did not arrest Tina Estrada, but that the judge arrested Tina Estrada. Excuse me. The definition of arrest is to seize someone by legal authority and take them into custody. Therefore, if the deputies are the ones who put hands on her, seized her, and took her into custody, that is what an arrest is.
So, how did the judge arrest her?
He said, the judge told her, "You are in contempt of court. I'm going to sentence you to 1 day." Told the officer to take her back, transport her out.
Okay. Okay, so when the officer said, because they said that the officer said, "You're under arrest," whenever she was in there.
It could be.
Okay.
I don't know that for a fact, but it could be.
You need to stand up. You are under arrest, and I don't want to use force.
Was it a sheriff's deputy who physically arrested her?
When you're going to have to split hairs on the word of arrest.
Who took her into custody?
Yes.
So
The judge is the one that said you are under arrest.
he said that?
Well, I'm not sure if he uttered those words.
No judge anywhere in the United States of America has the authority to make an arrest, period, end of story. And there's a very well thought out reason for this, even though it's not working the way it was intended. It's called a separation of powers. The founders of the U.S. insisted on a separation of powers because they believed that it would ensure that no one person or group of people would be able to create, administer, and enforce laws at the same time, therefore becoming too powerful. So I know that most of you know what the three branches of government are, and at least know the gist of what their powers and authorities are and aren't. But I am going to go over it very briefly for people like David Frazee who don't have a clue. So in a nutshell, as it applies to most of us in our daily lives, the legislative branch can make laws, but not enforce them or determine guilt or innocence or sentence people for violating the legislation. The executive branch, i.e. the police, can enforce laws, but they can't make them, nor can they determine someone's guilt or innocence. The judicial branch can determine guilt or innocence, but cannot make laws and have no executive authority to enforce laws. The problem is that in order for a system of checks and balances through separation of powers to work, there has to be a spirit of defiance within each branch where they're willing to defy and work against the other branches when they're wrong. The whole idea is that we know that men, when they're told they have power and authority, come up with really, really bad tyrannical ideas. So if it actually worked, then in practice, the way that it would go is that Judge Craig Davis would say that he wants Tina Estrada thrown in a cage for refusing to put a muzzle on her face. But as we just talked about here, as well as in elementary school government class, judges don't have arrest authority. Therefore, they have to ask the police or sheriff to make the arrest for them. In this case, when you have a sheriff with courage and integrity, he refuses to make the unlawful arrest, and that's it. The tyranny ends right there. However, when you have a cowardly sheriff, he does whatever the other two branches tell him to do without any thought or any question whatsoever. Now, beyond that, when you have someone who's an absolute coward, a liar, and someone who's completely incapable of taking responsibility for his or her own actions, such as Sheriff David Frazee, not only does he allow his department to make the arrest, but he then tries to blame it on everyone else, even making the absolutely ridiculous and bizarre statement that he didn't make the arrest, but that a judge, who has no arrest powers, made the arrest. But this isn't even the end of the show. The reporters that interviewed David Frazee before he took office asked him about red flag laws. If you don't know what red flag laws are, they're a way for government to confiscate guns from law-abiding citizens, without due process. And sheriffs around the entire nation have refused to enforce red flag laws, including the previous sheriff here in Torrance County. Refusing to enforce red flag laws requires that spirit of defiance that we were talking about earlier, because you're quite literally defying the order of a judge to go into somebody's house and confiscate their firearms without due process.
All right, well, I know a major issue right now, especially with our state government, is government overreach. And now we're seeing it even more with every session going by of red flag laws. Would you commit right now to protect the citizens' constitutional rights, especially the Second Amendment rights, and what steps would you take to defend them from government overreach?
100%. I'm a very strong proponent of Second Amendment. In fact, all the amendments, all of them. Fourth Amendment, all of the amendments. And I, as the sheriff, I'm the first line of defense of the people. I'm an elected official in that capacity rather than appointed. And your rights are very important to me. And the right to carry and possess a firearm is not going to be infringed upon. I won't allow that as sheriff.
Right.
I'm not going to. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's the governor comes down here. In this county, your rights is not going to be infringed. Not while I'm sheriff.
Right.
We're obligated to follow the judge's orders of the court.
The question that's on everybody's mind, and I brought this up on social media, is okay, so if this can happen with masking, what then with, because this is, we're just following orders. Because that's really what the conversation is about, is we're just following orders. And so then what happens in the event of red flag laws when the court issues an order saying, okay, this person, according to the red flag law, should have their firearms taken from them. Will you follow that order that comes from the court?
If the court has issued an order and a directive, we have to follow it.
So yes, you will.
Yes.
You will follow the red flag law.
We'll follow whatever law, whatever order the court issues, we're obligated to follow it.
Before David Frazee took office, he promised not to violate the rights of the people by obeying unlawful edicts and commands from tyrants. Now that he's in office, he's completely changed his tune. As of the making of this video on April 15th, 2023, David Frazee has still refused to step down as sheriff of Torrance County. He has demonstrated to the people that he's a liar and that he poses a direct and immediate threat to the liberty of the people of Torrance County. He's shown that he's unwilling to be a check and a balance on the other branches of government as the people elected him to do. He's shown that instead of defending the liberty of the people, that he will be the first in line to strip your liberty by force. He has verbally articulated that he fully intends to continue stripping people's liberty by force when he's told to by other branches of government. He's proven beyond a reasonable doubt that he personally is a threat to other people's liberty. Why would we confiscate firearms from people who might be a threat when David Frazee is still carrying a gun and he's a guaranteed threat?
In this county, your rights is not going to be infringed. Not while I'm sheriff.
Great. Some would argue that you swear to protect the state, the Constitution of the state, while others say that in the end you swear to protect the people. And would you say your allegiance is more with the people or more with the state?
No, it's definitely with the people.
What is more important to look at when it comes to electing an official? Is it their party affiliation or the content of their character?
No, it's obviously the content of their character. You've got to look at the people. We'll follow whatever law, whatever order the court issues, we're obligated to follow it.